Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 13 of season 1 of The Flash called The Nuclear Man. And this is our first real and proper look at Firestorm. And it's also kind of where we get to our first real look at Martin Stein. And overall, I felt this was a pretty solid episode. It really does feel like Firestorm is probably going to be a very, very big character this season. I think it's going to end up being something a little like season 2 of Arrow, where they introduced Black Canary properly into the show, and then she ended up becoming a really big part of what went on that season. But we'll have to wait and see. So let's just kind of get right into things. One thing that I'm really pleased that I noticed, it seems like this went over a lot of people's heads. I mean, it's not even on TV tropes. Is Barry mentions having tickets to see a jazz musician named Mal Duncan. Well, Mal Duncan is a member of a guy from the Teen Titans who went by the name, I kid you not, Hornblower. Nightwing even commented, and great Mal Duncan, great guy, terrible code name. And I think he also went by the name of Harold, like Harold with an E, not an A. So yeah, that was another nice little touch there. That was probably Jeff Johns at work, seeing as how he had a really nice run on Teen Titans several years ago that I really enjoyed. That's basically outside of the original outside of the Marv Wolfman George Perez stories from the 80s, which are really really good and hold up pretty well to this day. That's actually my favorite run on Teen Titans. Jeff Johns was a real ace on that book. So let's see. This is also where we kind of get a first really in-depth look at Linda Park. So let's kind of start right there. It was interesting seeing ultimately that conversation between Linda and Iris after their date and all that. Linda's like, it eventually came to like, has Barry ever had a girlfriend? And I've even seen people online going like, given how stuck on Iris was, is Barry a virgin? And I'm probably gonna go with no because he seemed to know what to do with a woman. So let's put it that way. And he obviously was seriously into Felicity. So I think we can say that Barry has probably had some flings and such in his life, but never anything really serious. So let's just kind of leave it at that. Although hearing Caitlin sort of talk about the problems that Barry might experience with having sex, given with super speed, and the whole it was like I was vibrating, like you were vibrating thing. I mean, oh man, the perviness of it all is just almost unspeakable. And never mind the cougar who ends up hitting on Joe this episode. But anyway, just to bring things back to Linda, here we get to focusing on her a little bit, and she comes across as very real type A person, somebody who works hard, plays hard, and really does not have time to sort of fool around with anybody who isn't going to take what's going on seriously. Now, given that Barry works for the cops, you'd think Linda would be a little bit more sympathetic to somebody who had to suddenly rush off in the middle of things. But so I thought she was being a little bit unfair there. But that did lead to that really nice scene with Barry kind of running into the newspaper office with what apparently is indeed one of the world's hottest chili peppers. He rattled off the name, and it's been confirmed that he wasn't kidding. That is a real type of chili pepper that's super, super ridiculously hot. And saying, like, if you won't go out on another me, I'm going to eat this. Now, I saw some people, like, freaking out. It's like, Barry, what's wrong with him? He's turning into a creepy stalker. This is like, he's threatening Linda if she doesn't go out with him. Like, dude, this is not meant as a go out with me or else. This is meant as a sign of genuine devotion. All right, he's not like threatening to kill her cat if there isn't a second date. It was like, oh, he's threatening to hurt himself. Like, Linda, you can't kill yourself with a goddamn chili pepper. Seriously. Linda was engaging in a little thing called hyperbole. And also, Barry's the goddamn Flash. if he does say burn his tongue with a chili pepper, it will heal really quickly. Now, one thing I did like in this episode is that when Barry eats the chili pepper at the office, Linda is smart enough to actually give him milk afterwards, because if you know anything about really spicy food, if you feels like your mouth is on fire, you don't want to drink water because that just sort of spreads it around. And also water is chemically neutral. It's what neutrality in chemistry is based on. Milk, on the other hand, is a base. It counteracts acidic stuff like chili peppers. Man, I didn't do well in chemistry in high school, but I do remember at least that much. Actually, I learned that in elementary school science class because it was part of a science fair project that I did and got a ribbon for. Yeah. Science fairs rock. They're awesome. Okay, so and also that we had to sort of lead to that scene between Linda and Iris sort of talking to each other. I mean, not lead, but go back to. We sort of see that there's a little bit of doubt in Iris sort of creeping there. It's like, do I really have any kind of feelings for Barry beyond being just sort of sisterly? And Linda Park, being a real sharp cookie, she picks up on that immediately. Now, a lot of people were saying, like, this episode, like, oh, Barry's a liar. He still has feelings for Iris. Like, okay, or was that last episode? You know what? To hell with that. I don't believe that. I don't believe Barry's a liar. Yes, he probably still does genuinely have some feelings for Iris, but he's doing his best to move on and put it past him. And his interest in Linda, I think, is real. And that whole thing with the chili pepper, it actually reminded me of a story from the comics. It was actually with Wally West, who in the comics is Linda's proper boyfriend and later husband. And it was a Christmas story. And basically, Linda and Wally were at the mall, and Wally's just sort of mumbling about sort of his superhero problems and such. And Linda is sort of also kind of complaining about her own problems. And she stops for a second. She looks at the sweater and goes, "Oh my God, this is the ugliest sweater I have ever seen. Why in the world would anyone buy this sweater? It's horrible." And then Wally's just sort of like grumble, fighting the Royal Flush Gang, Justice League, blah blah blah, whatever. So later on, he's sort of like stuck trying to think of a good present for Linda. And then he gets an idea. So the story jumps over to Christmas Day. They're opening their presents, and Linda opens her present from Barry, for Wally, and it's that ugly ass sweater. And she goes, "Well, why in the world did you get me this?" And Barry says to her, and again, I'm summarizing here. Basically, like, I know it seems like I don't really pay attention to you and what you say some of the times because I'm so distracted by my hero, my hero gig, but I do listen to you, and I do value what it is that you say, even if it's something as simple as saying, that sweater over there is really ugly. So I got you this to remind you that I take everything that you say seriously. And Linda, thought that was a really awesome gesture on his part. And I thought that was a cute, nice little story. I think it was probably Mark Waid who mentioned that, who wrote that story. And we got another nod to the street named after him. And we find out that Martin Stein is the winner of a Conway Award, multiple Conway Awards. Of course, it was Jerry Conway, who was one of the co-creators of Firestorm. But anyway, I think that covers Linda Park and Iris. So let's just kind of talk about Martin Stein and Firestorm. Robbie Amell is sort of stepping into that role, and he is, of course, the cousin of Arrow's own Stephen Amell. I can't wait till they find some reason to have these two guys in the same room together. It'll probably have to be the next time they do a Flash Arrow crossover, which they've stated, the show's producers and stuff, that they're going to do at least once a year. So we'll probably have to wait for that to see that happen next year. But I think that's going to be really cool because there's no way in the world they won't do that. So, Robbie Amell, dude, this guy's effing cut. And he's a good actor. He's playing basically an old man in this really cut young dude's body, and he really sells it. We really get a sense of Martenstein here, that he's a very intelligent man, very devoted to his wife. He can be a little bit snarky, maybe even a little stuck up, but it's really just a case of I've got a damn big brain. But at the end of the day, Martenstein is genuinely a really good man. And those scenes, like when he's talking with his wife while he's still looking like a hobo. I mean, that's really cool stuff there. And give it credit for a TV budget. This was actually a pretty nice take on Firestorm. Not really sure how he's not setting stuff like Barry on fire, but comic book science, right? Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I also really continue to love this sort of dynamic between Joe and Cisco. They're two guys who really, you don't think they'd really have much interactions, but Joe has obviously spotted that Cisco is a potential asset, and Cisco's a nice, helpful guy, and he and Joe may have met before because of Barry being in a coma and whatnot at Star Labs. And Cisco's a guy who I think really sort of is craving that sort of praise and recognition from those sort of father figure types. Obviously his main one is going to be Dr. Wells, but getting that kind of validation from Joe, I can understand why he would be interested in that. And Joe showing some trust in him, saying like, "Hey man, I need your help and I need you to keep it on the down low." Okay, that's cool. And then of course they set up a nice conflict there between Joe and his loyalty, his wanting to help Joe, and his loyalty to Dr. Wells. And I'm not even going to try and talk about the science in this episode talking about what happened with the mirror and all this stuff going on with Firestorm, because it's comic book science. Don't worry about it. But here we do get it confirmed that there's going to be some time travel going on. I mean, not that we hadn't really guessed this, but the pieces of what happened to Barry's mom are starting to come together. Of course, this is apparently mind-bogglingly difficult, because I saw more confused people on Tumblr and Twitter than I really had ever thought was possible. I mean, God, people, is logic really that difficult? Why do I read comments on Tumblr? Why? Okay, so let's see here. What else do we have to talk about this episode? Again, really nice moments for Caitlin. Just her struggle with missing Ronnie, and then well, here's Ronnie's body, but somebody else is in the driver's seat. And oh my God, Ronnie is about to blow up and nuke the city. So some real torment for Caitlin. But there's always hope, right? And we got to see Dr. Wells sort of take that, sort of cannibalize his tachyon device, that's helping him maintain his super speed, and turn it into a gizmo that looks like it may have failed to save Ronnie, but Ronnie and Dr. Stein, but I think it's safe to say somehow or another they'll be back pretty soon. So you have to wonder, well, why did he do that? Why is Firestorm so important? Don't know. But I do love that we again got another really nice shot of Dr. Wells' flash ring. That was pretty cool. And of course we get a cameo appearance by General Eiling at the very end, and almost going back to Firestorm for a second, that design that they put on his outfit, very reminiscent in some ways of the logo of Firestorm. Now, obviously, this isn't really a proper costume. This is basically a jogging suit with some kind of weird science gizmo strapped to it. But this is a start. This is probably where they're going to start taking steps towards something that's really more reminiscent of the Firestorm costume that comic fans know and love, because Firestorm has an absolutely frigging awesome character design. I mean, it's really, really good. So, anything else this episode? Nope, nothing comes to mind. All right, guys, I've talked for about 15 minutes, so I think this is a good place to call it. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe, and of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Till next time, take care and have a good one.